My fellow Americans, tonight I want to speak with you about our nation's unprecedented response to the coronavirus outbreak that started in China and is now spreading throughout the world. Today, the World Health Organization officially announced that this is a global pandemic. We have been in frequent contact with our allies, and we are marshaling the full power of the federal government and the private sector to protect the American people. This is the most aggressive and comprehensive effort to confront a foreign virus in modern history. I am confident that by counting and continuing to take these tough measures, we will significantly reduce the threat to our citizens, and we will ultimately and expeditiously defeat this virus. From the beginning of time, nations and people have faced unforeseen challenges, including large-scale and very dangerous health threats. This is the way it always was and always will be. It only matters how you respond, and we are responding with great speed and professionalism.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a look at all of the latest breaking news. And yes, there is a lot as President Trump shuts down travel between the United States and Europe amidst this major coronavirus pandemic panic. And we're going to talk about that briefly. We're going to look at some other very interesting things, including how we should logically look at the sequence of events that have led us to where we are at today. So you guys are going to stick around and check out that and a whole lot more. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig. You know, I start by saying thanks if you've hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, please, it helps the channel out big time. Just come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you get notified as soon as all of these videos get posted. You got to select that all button as soon as you click that bell. But that's pretty much where we always begin, and we look here at the Q boards to start. 3894 was the last Q post we got on March 9th. Today's the 12th. And we still have not had any more Q posts, but we've had an incredible set of events take place with this entire virus, the coronavirus. President Trump giving his address to the nation and telling us what to expect and informing us that the border between the United States and Europe is now officially closed. And that does not just go for people traveling, that also goes for all cargo that is shipped out of Europe. It will not be allowed to make transit across the Atlantic into America. Now, this is why everyone's panicking. This is why the stock market's in turmoil, it seems. And also, it also seems that this is something that we've been talking about here on the channel for quite some time. And I'm going to get into what that is referring to, how we were talking about it beforehand. You guys, if you're following this content, you know that a few things. I'm gonna kind of get this out there before we get started with the news stories we're gonna watch. Plus, just to give you an idea of what's ahead in the episode, we're gonna talk about a bunch of news stories, including famous celebrities coming down with this COVID-19. We're gonna talk about the latest breaking news stories that are being ignored, mostly by the media, who's fixated on this coronavirus and making it into a larger crisis so that probably they can tank the economy and try to get President Trump removed from office is what it looks like at this point. But that's happening. And then we're going to talk about the fact that yours truly got thrown in Twitter jail for 12 hours. The digital gulag at Twitter had me in its, walls or whatever you want to call it, digital confines. And we're going to talk about that briefly. But let's just start with what is happening in the news. So everyone's freaking out right now because Tom Hanks announced he's in Australia with his wife, I guess, Rita Wilson, and they've both tested positive for this coronavirus. Now, obviously, that's for you guys to look at and make with it what you will. But I will say this, it's very interesting to look at how there are people who have left the country. There are people who have decided to go into other countries who, what we have talked about here from day one really is shutting down these global trafficking lanes, right? And how do you do that? Well, there's only really one way to do it. And we're going to talk about that more in depth, I'm sure, throughout this episode. But if you think about it, I mean, at this point, we're in the middle of the storm, it would appear to be the situation as Biden, you guys saw this the other day. He's screaming at auto workers in Michigan. I'm sure he's going to win that vote. Now, how convenient is it that a global pandemic takes place that affects people who are older? Probably a lot of the people who are or would be more likely to vote against things like, I don't know, communism and socialism. How, convenient is it that this virus, shuts down the ability for us to gather in large groups, let's say like at Trump rallies, but now it's stretched all the way into sporting events. You've seen the NCAA say they're not going to have crowds at the March Madness. You have the NBA basically, pausing all games indefinitely for the time being because one of the players, this guy Rudy Gobert, was just mocking this whole virus and spreading his germs all over the media's equipment. I mean, there's actual videos of it. And then it turns out that he has the coronavirus. You're seeing it across the board. You're seeing all these different examples of how they're shutting down society, one sector at a time, in a way trying to, I guess, contain this contagion and its effect. But somebody put it to me a very interesting way, and I want to share that with you guys. As I've said before, I do have some sources, and they do reach out to me. And some of them, believe it or not, are people who, just pop up on the radar after a long time of not hearing from them. And I just want to share what I got, a message from somebody I trust, a good source, somebody I've been talking to for quite a while about a lot of this stuff. And I think that their take on it is something that is worth sharing. It says, Italy has its own version of FISA and their own similar agencies, such as the FBI. Of course, they also have large UN and EU oversight in country as well. Italy became the first country to shut down the moment that some of their former current intelligence members turned on the deep state. With a country being shut down, there can be no hearings, there can be no testimony in country, and nobody goes to work, which opens up data to be taken and destroyed. This was, of course, expected, and everything is secure. And I can't read that part, but it says, but bottom line is that Corona is, and this is their words, a bioweapon released to both destroy certain areas of the world who would support the Trump offensive, and also to take the masses out of work and limit their ability to see what is happening behind the scenes while they desperately try to clean up the issue, because they now know a Trump re-election is certain, and a Trump re-election brings their ultimate end, since the first term was cleaning up the internal issues, and the second is a major roundup burying of all the major troublemakers. So that's just a little taste of what I'm hearing on my end, and I can tell you right now that it's all been a part of the plan from day one. I'm not saying that this was a part of the plan, as in they're releasing this kind of contagion to hurt people. But as I've said before, all the military does is plan in contingencies, contingency after contingency after contingency, so that if this goes wrong, then we do this. If this goes wrong, then we do that. If this goes wrong, we do this. So we've been prepared for what is to come, is all I'm saying. And if you're prepared for what's to come, then you can actually use whatever happens as a way to, combat broader issues that have to be taken out. And like I think one of my sources here says, the information's already been gotten. It's already been documented and taken. They're just trying to clean it up because they know when it all comes out, when President Trump gets that re-election and gets in his second term, that he will go, according to this person's theory, let's just say, on the offensive, right? And think about that in terms of what we're up against today, as we speak right now, right? We have a global pandemic that is obviously having a very detrimental effect on anyone it comes in contact with who is, of a certain age or of a certain immune, health level. And this is really something that we have to look at more closely. Sanders, turning over and saying he's going to keep going with his campaign has little effect on what we're dealing with right now, other than the fact that it shows how weak that Democrat field is. And it shows how everybody is looking at this in the sense that there's only one way I think we can have a crazy turn of events that I think nobody's really anticipated, is if Biden has Bernie be his running mate. And that's why I'm throwing that out here. I thought about it long and hard, and I thought, wow, that would be something nobody sees coming. That could be a real tough thing if they can tank the economy, blame President Trump for a pandemic that was not his fault, and then they can put Bernie on the ticket and try to draw in those in-between voters. And that's just something I threw out there thinking out loud, not to mention the fact that you have Tom Cotton going out and basically showing Joe Biden and what he's basically done with Hunter Biden. That's something that's worth noting. Also, of course, the Supreme Court has given Trump a big win by allowing the Remain in Mexico policy to continue, meaning we can keep people in Mexico as we process them for deportation or process them for entry and look at their ability to claim asylum. So it's definitely a interesting way or a positive win. Harvey Weinstein gets sentenced to 23 years in prison and all of a sudden has chest pains. I mean, you can understand why, I'm sure. And of course, the group of black pastors, I wanted to point this out, petitioned Congress to censure Schumer for the Supreme Court remarks. So these guys, you know, it's amazing to me how every day it gets worse and worse, but it's not going to stop, and it's only going to get worse in the run up to the election. Because for anyone out there asking, you know, why is Schumer standing on the court, the steps of the Supreme Court, making, you know, threats at sitting U.S. Supreme Court justices who serve life terms, who can't be removed or really taken out of their position by most conventional means. I mean, I think there are some ways that it could happen, but for the most part, they serve life terms. You have to look at this, him making these remarks and these threats. You have to ask yourself why. And I can play a clip for you here that's going to show you exactly why they are terrified and why they are panicking, why President Trump probably shut down the border between Europe and America, why China has decided to use their leverage in this situation to make threats like that they would cut us off from our pharmaceutical antibiotics and other pharmaceutical products that we depend on them for to keep our country healthy and alive. A lot of people here depend on products from China just to stay alive, believe it or not, which is an unfortunate position in and of itself. And if you want more information on that, I suggest you start watching Tucker Carlson, who's been doing very in-depth research on China and why they pose a huge threat to us in the fact that they have this supply chain monopoly over our medical industries. But this is something that Sidney Powell, General Flynn's attorney, explains in explicit detail about why the deep state is panicking, why they are freaking out, and why they are so scared of what information President Trump is going to bring to the light and is going to go after these people who, as Q has told us, first of all, something big is coming. Remember this. Remember what Q said here. Something big is coming. This was back on December 27th. Everybody said, oh, nothing big's coming. Nothing's going to happen. But President Trump has all but confirmed Q. He retweeted Praying Medic. He's basically retweeted posts from Dan Scavino that quote Q boards. He's done everything he can to force the media to ask the question. The fake news media will not ask the question. So watch what Sidney Powell has to say about what her experience is in understanding the Clinton email situation and the Wiener laptop, because this tells you everything you need to know about what they are terrified of coming out.
What happened was the double standard is what happened. I wrote an article for the New York Observer ages ago called The Countless Crimes of Hillary Clinton that went viral. I think Rush might have even read it online, on air. There are probably things she could still be indicted for, and frankly, I think should, because the Espionage Act, very clear violations of the Espionage Act and really no issue about intent, despite President Obama proclaiming otherwise. And of course, you realize the reason that Hillary had to be protected was because he was writing her on that secret server using an alias, which shows that he damn well knew and had approved in advance her use of the secret unsecured server. On top of that, there's the Anthony Weiner laptop, which I don't know if you heard this. I wrote an article about that too. 675,000 Clinton emails when they got Anthony Weiner's laptop in a search warrant because of all his sex perversion issues. It was all the Clinton emails, the Clinton Foundation, her Secretary of State emails, Huma Abedin's emails. Lots of people emailed Huma as a proxy for Hillary, and it included what Comey called the sorry, I must wave my hands more than most people. The golden emails, because they were the BlackBerry backup emails that they were supposedly just looking for everywhere very diligently. Well, guess what they did when they found them on the Weiner laptop? They got a search warrant for things that didn't include the BlackBerry backup emails. So when they told us, when he stood there and said that day, oh, you know, we've reviewed all the emails now, there's nothing there, that was a bald-faced lie. They specifically did not look at the BlackBerry backups, and they didn't look at a fraction of the emails on Anthony Weiner's laptop. So one of the things, if I were the president, I'd do is demand the Anthony Weiner laptop and get it to the most trusted person in the military to take apart everything on it and then start using it. There's a lot that can be prosecuted, I have no doubt, on that laptop. In fact, I heard that the New York police officers who saw some of it, even though they're hardened investigators, literally had to go throw up. It's bad.
And just a little side note here today, I just want to remind everybody, look, the reason I haven't been on Twitter all day today is because I got thrown into Twitter jail, also known as Twitmo, as put out there by my good friend Praying Medic. So if you guys follow him, I asked him to throw a tweet out today to let everybody know that I couldn't post. I was locked in timeout, if you will, by the Thought Police at Twitter for 12 hours today because I posted a picture of Joe Biden, and apparently you can't make a comment about him in a satirical, sarcastic manner about his, you know, whatever it may be. I'm not even going to get into that here, but because of the new rules or whatever it is, they made me pull down the post. Then they said that they're going to lock my account for 12 hours so I can't use it. So just like Matt Drudge predicted, they've thrown me into their little digital gulag where, you know, my audience that I've worked, you know, years to build up to, you know, be able to reach out to a bunch of really, you know, great people and have a conversation about what's going on in this country can be just taken away like that. So imagine if they just arbitrarily use this ambiguous rules that they've made to continue to do things like this. Because next time it'll be for, what, a day. Then it'll be for 3 days. Then it'll be for 7 days. And you know what? It'll be really, really convenient when they start doing this to people like myself and others, you know, right around the time of the election, you know, in the last week toward the election. You know, they just pick some post that you made and say, you know, you can't say that about this candidate. You're interfering in a political election. We're going to suspend your account. And that's where we are at, ladies and gentlemen. They are literally acting as authoritarian as the communist Chinese online. They are using it to create their own sovereign territory that seems to be completely in this fantasy land that they've created, where they're not subject to laws and the Constitution and the First Amendment, but they're still making millions and millions of dollars and enjoying all the protections that the government's given them through Section 230. So it baffles my mind. And if you just look at the work of people like Dr. Epstein, who went out and actually showed the data to prove that these social media companies, Facebook, Twitter, Google, they can sway an entire election if they do stuff like this. Right? They throw you in a digital gulag at a key time in history when your opinion may actually make a difference. And if they do that across the board, could you see where this is going? This does not end well. Free speech is going to die if we let these people keep it up. because the future is the internet. And that's just the way it is. So there you go. That's what happened to me. You can come follow me on Twitter at JUSTINFORMED. In case you haven't done that yet, you hear my impassioned speech about why I think this is wrong and why I think I did nothing wrong. But ultimately it doesn't matter because I have zero control. There's nobody I can call. There's no hotline that can be dialed into or email that can be sent to anybody that matters. And they'll just write you back and say, nope, you're in Twitter jail. Sorry. That's the way it is. Your voice has been silenced. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if in late October, early November, before all this gets going off, you don't see this happen to so many voices across the board. They just will silence you, and they will do it at the critical moment necessary to do damage control and to basically manipulate the masses to do their will, because these people are sick, they're power hungry, and they have no qualm with violating your or my First Amendment rights in this country. There's just absolutely not. They've thrown that out the window. They are the arbiters of truth and morality and what's right and wrong, and their ambiguous rules are what we go by, not the U.S. Constitution anymore. So if you're online, you're going to either obey their rules or end up in their digital gulag, and that's the way it is. So, you guys heard me out there, and you know what Sidney Powell was saying goes right in hand with what they're going to be doing in the run-up to this election. They're going to try to suppress this information. They're going to try to push it down. They're going to try to claim that the Russians are interfering in our elections. They're going to try to claim all these crazy things because they have nothing to run on. They don't have a candidate that has substantial ideas, it seems, that they can endorse and get behind, because everybody knows that whether you're on the right or left or you're liberal, conservative, whatever it is, you can understand why people wouldn't want to vote for somebody like Joe Biden. You could understand why people wouldn't want to vote for somebody like communist Bernie Sanders, comrade Bernie Sanders. But President Trump has a movement that is built upon Americans who want to make America great again. And that's what these people hate. They hate America. They've been taught in their liberal universities that America's evil, that we're the bad guys in the movie, that we're the ones impeding, this global progress, that climate change is this inescapable threat that is far more severe and serious than a global pandemic like we're seeing here, that we should be spending trillions on that and ignoring the threat that is at our door. Now, where this threat came from and how it came to be is pretty much unknown at this point from our perspective. But I can tell you right now that there is, let's put it this way, when you're the best, when you're the most powerful, there is a target on your back. And everyone wants to overtake you. And China will do whatever it has to do. And now the European Union's going to have to do whatever it's going to have to do. And at this point, I just want my message for you guys out there is this. It's pretty simple. What we are called to do in situations like this, when we are faced with, the unknown, stuff that's kind of scary, stuff that's kind of tough, kind of hard, we are meant to persevere. God tells us that we are meant to persevere, and God gives us a very clear path to understanding how to do that. Live righteously. Do what is right. Do unto others. Help your neighbor. Go out into your community and volunteer and help out and do something to be proactive, right? To help make this a better place. Whatever that is for you, you got to figure that out through prayer, through research, through understanding. And then, also take care of yourself. Obviously, all the things you're hearing on TV, it goes that, wash your hands. Avoid contact with people you think are sick. You don't go into a big place if you don't have to, especially if you're a little older and you're a little more susceptible. If we do these things, if we remain, steadfast in our adherence to those kind of principles, and then also to the principles that are most important, right? Being righteous, living by God, living for God, we'll be just fine. Okay? No matter what the stock market does, no matter what the oil prices are, what the global shipping looks like, we're going to be just fine. We just have to remain calm. We have to remain strong. And we have to understand that we cannot have all of this great stuff that we have without putting in the work to get it and to earn it. And this is a part of breaking ourselves away from our global dependence on others. And ultimately, it will be a net positive regardless of what comes. So that's my best, speech attempt at trying to just, remind you all that we're all in this together. Whether you're on the left or the right, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, please, at this point, if we can just come around and coalesce on the ideas of justice, truth, integrity, then we'll be just fine, okay? That's it. Simple as it is. So thanks for watching. A few more things before we go. Come here, watch these videos, share them on your social media. You guys know the deal. So they suppress the content. They try to keep it away from you. They promote the fake news. You know what they do. So you see it every day. You guys are what make these videos get this many views, because otherwise they'd be thrown in the memory hole, never to be seen again. And I've had a couple that have been thrown in the memory hole, so I know what I'm talking about. But that's basically where we're going to wrap it up. A few more things. Come here and find me on Twitter. Now's a great time to follow me here, since they've decided to come after my account. A lot of people are saying I'm probably over the target if I have them blocking me from being able to post, because I guess I pose that much of a threat to the narrative that they're trying to draw, that they have to literally remove my ability to speak on this platform. But there you go. You can find me on Twitter at JustInformYou. You can go over here and find me at justinformednews.com, where you get all the videos and you get the latest websites that you can go check out. Also, you can come over here to bitshoot.com/justinformedtalk. It's the backup channel for the main YouTube channel. Also, be brave. Download the Brave browser. It helps the channel out big time, and it's free. It's a great product. I really love it, and I think you guys will love it as well. So download it, install it, and run it on your computer. Then they'll make a donation to this channel, and you'll get a great product. It's an internet browser. You know it. It's better than the rest. It blocks your ads, and it makes your internet experience that much better. So go give it a try. Download the Brave browser, install it, and run it for free today using the link in the description of this video. Also, if you want to help out financially, Patreon, patreon.com. This channel depends on people like you to support it. So your donations, your monthly donation, it's once a month. You set it and forget it. You guys are keeping content coming on this channel. It's the only way I can afford to do what I'm doing. And yes, the channel's kind of had a little bit of a slowdown with some of the videos here, but I can tell you, I've just been going through some medical stuff. So it's always, one of those things. You're just trying to stay ahead of the game, right? So that's what I've been up to, and I don't want to get into any detail about that, but thank you. Your support truly does keep this channel going. I couldn't do it without your help. Trust me, because it's hard enough working by yourself trying to get this information out there, but then your support keeps it so much easier, and you guys don't know how much you mean. Also, I have a GoFundMe if you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation, so there's that. A few more things and links to everything we talked about here, including that video, the full hour-plus long video of Sidney Powell. You need to watch the full video. It's a great watch, but I showed you a little clip. That'll be in the description as well. So before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. Today, I want to share this verse with you out of the book of 1 John chapter 3, verse 7, and it talks about how we understand the difference between good and evil. And I want you to listen to these words. Little children, let no one deceive you. The one who does what is right, is righteous, just as he is righteous. The one who commits sin is of the devil, for the devil has sinned from the beginning. The Son of God was revealed for this purpose, to destroy the devil's works. Everyone who has been born of God does not sin, because his seed remains in him. He is not able to sin, because he has been born of God. This is how God's children and the devil's children are made evident. Take that with you and remember, do what is right, and you will be righteous, and you will be one of God's children, and that separates you from the devil's children. So that's where I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to say thank you guys for watching this episode. Come here, hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Make sure you hit the all button after you click the bell, and hit it, punch it, tap it, headbutt it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me, though. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.